And what's good, everybody? And thank you for tuning in to another beautiful episode of Andromeda. Today, we have a very special guest. We have CryptoLurker in the house. Let's make some noise. She is a phenomenal person in the crypto space. Very, very knowledgeable on Curio Cards, which will be on auction October 1st at Christies. So without further ado, CryptoLurker, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm CryptoLurker. I go by my username mainly on Twitter and Discord. Mainly what I do at the moment is I'm just full on in NFT space. So I dive into a lot of projects and I research into what they're doing and I listen to what people are saying in the space. And I'm also a mod in 3 projects, Curio Cards, Crypto Arte, and Visitors of I'm a Degen. So that's what I mainly do with my spare time. And also I like to sort of participate really heavily in the NFT space. So
yeah. I'm feeling that me as well. I'm getting real involved because the community is such a loving and fun community. And there's so many different projects. Like once you learn about a new one, it's so hard not to just go like get lost in it almost. So I know exactly what you mean by that. So I want to keep this focus around Curio Cards a little bit. How did you and when did you first hear about Curio Cards?
Yeah, so I first heard about Curio Cards in Gary's wallet, Gary V's wallet.
Yeah.
It was so weird. Like I didn't really watch a lot of Gary V, and I didn't really know what exactly he was about, other than the fact he was a motivational speaker and entrepreneur in some sense. But he reeled me really, really deep into NFTs. And then I started looking at what he was buying because I thought that was the best way to learn. And then I saw the cards, I saw berries, and I was like, oh, what are these? Kind of like ugly. So I didn't really give too much thought about it until I was on Twitter at like 4 a.m. being a crazy person. And then I saw his tweet. He was like, his tweet about the cards and he was hinting at it. And like immediately I knew what he was talking about. So I was like, okay, that's worth looking into. Mm-hmm. And then the deeper I dove into that rabbit hole, the deeper I was like, oh, wow, this is a very like this is a different project. And this is, the fact that it predated CryptoPunks and all these other things. Yeah, I was just like, wow. Okay. I actually fell in love with the project. So
yeah, so you found out about, so around what time frame did you find out about Curio Cards? What month?
August, early August.
Early August, okay.
So I got in when all the cards were around like 0.1 or like 0. Yeah, super cheap. It was like the first ever tweet from Gary, which was around that time. And like, yeah, now the floor is kind of like, 1 ETH. Yeah. So I got in pretty early.
Okay, nice. Lucky you. So what are your honest opinions and reviews about the cards and about this project?
Yeah, my honest views are, I think it's like a work of creative genius. Obviously, I'm pretty biased because I really like the cards. It's just a work of art innovation. It actually blows my mind. Like, so the more I study it, the more I find these interesting Easter eggs and like interesting facts that sort of oddly tie in together very well with what we're going through now. Okay. So, you know how it takes us through the whole story of human art evolution. Yeah. From cards 1 to 10 and things like that. I just find it so fitting that the rest of the cards until cards 17 sort of it's like a commentary on what's very relevant to what we're experiencing now. It's like all these institutions that are now like gaining interest, but it's highly ironic because it's sort of like unintentionally, because it was kind of parodying the whole like crypto is going to take over, brands, crypto is going to take over like financial institutions. But it's just kind of ironic since the recent news with CryptoPunks being bought by one of the CryptoPunks being bought by Visa, things like that. It's just the more time goes on, the funnier I find it. So yeah.
I agree with you 100%. When I first heard about Curio Cards, it was actually my first project that I got into the NFT space. I knew about NFTs since January, February, around that time. I just never got into it. I thought it was a little, I don't know, I guess I was kind of, man, I don't want to learn something new, or I don't know what I'm getting into. Is it a bubble, whatever it is? So it's been months since I've been like learning about it here and there. But then finally I made a decision, something that's hit me. And I was like, I'm going to buy my first NFT soon. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to do some research. I'm going to buy one. And I started watching Gary's videos, and he made a really good point in one of his videos when he was like, prehistoric NFTs prior, like the 2017, 2018 ones will be huge, and they will have their time in the future because of the history that they hold. And that's when it all clicked in my head. And right after that, I was doing some research, and then I seen the thing about Christie's, the Christie auction October 1st. And I said, wow, this is a sign. This is the cards I have to get into. So when I first did it, it was more so I'm buying it because I knew that it would hold value. But then as I started diving deeper into the rabbit holes, when I found your video and I started learning more about the community, and I started learning more about what these cards actually meant. And that's when it like started to blow my mind away. Like, this is more than just a project. This is creative geniuses coming together and making something very special. And I think the fact that it's cards and it's collectible and there's 30 different cards, and obviously the super wealthy could hold all 30, but I think the goal for me personally is to get as much as I possibly can. And I think that's what makes Curio Cards fun, because your video explaining Curio Cards 1 through 10 really was a game changer for me. So I want to know from your perspective, it doesn't have to be as long. Walk us through cards 1 through 10.
Yeah. So in short, 1 to 10 is basically a retell of how humans developed ideas and communicated them, mainly through art, with a sort of specific focus on art history. So we used to visualize quite early on, starting from prehistoric times, and the earliest forms of that was through cave paintings. And then, so that's what the nuts and berries represent, with the apple being the story of creation, beginning of everything. And it flows from us using things like clay, paint, ink, sculpture, painting, all the way through into the future. So, and it carries through those ideas of how we constantly evolutionized our way of thinking and our way of portraying like really abstract ideas, which really art can only do. And yeah, it's like really exciting to think how it will take us into the future.
Okay, love it. I want to dive deeper into the cards, because one you said was kind of represents the apple of the beginning. Every culture knows the apple is the beginning of it all. And what was 2? Like, can you walk us individually through 2 through 9, like what they mean?
Yeah. So 2 and 3 represent the prehistoric times. So with the cave paintings, our earliest forms were sort of cave paintings of how we would visualize our hunts. So that was very early signs of how we would, manifest our futures, because our interpretation of those cave paintings of, the humans hunting down animals was sort of like a recollection, or maybe planning for future hunts and mapping out what went wrong and what could go right. And it just helped us evolve. Number 4 was clay. I know that clay took forms in different shapes and things, other than the purpose of being used to, hold food and things like that, which when we discovered fire, that sort of, really gave us a big boost in terms of our thinking, and we could think more sophisticatedly. So clay sort of like plays that role, and that's how I interpret it.
Yeah.
But we would also express things, further down the line with paint. We would try and make things maybe look a little bit more accurate to real life, rather than using like really earthy color tones, which is what pigment started off with in the beginning. Like, we used to take like just rocks and minerals that were like very like just reds, things like that. And then we would develop our ideas further. And you can see it all in like Egyptian paintings when they discovered blue, and like for a period of time, people just got really obsessed with blue.
Yeah.
China got really obsessed with blue. Like, it was crazy because it was such an unnatural color, but somewhere along the line we discovered it. It evolves into sort of like the realm of language. So with the ink card, we found better ways to basically scribe. scribe ideas onto paper, which was like a big step away from stone tablets, which are like, you can't hold those things. And then obviously being more transportable, then we could transfer like information way quicker. And then, you know, like culturally we could evolve much quicker as well.
Love it. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then with sculptures, that's just like another step up, right? Like we just got crazier and crazier with our like expression of ideas.
Yeah.
And then with the painting, you know, like that signifies the era where Leonardo da Vinci was alive. And with everything that he learned and put into the Mona Lisa as a form of, it was just like, it was crazy. So, and that gave birth to just this whole rise of, you know, new ways of seeing art.
Yeah, at that time, that painting was like the most intricate piece known to man, or as far as the detail. So I think that was very interesting.
Yeah, and I think he learned the anatomy so well that he painted it in a way that if you rest your eyes, like rest it, like sort of when things go a bit hazy, that's when she actually smiles. And I didn't even know that. Like I had to like Google what that meant.
Wow.
After finding Curio Cards, because he had studied the muscles of the eyes, the tissue of like, you know, the eyes of humans so well. Yeah, so that piece actually, the Mona Lisa, that's one of the reasons why I think it's so iconic. And then with poetry, yeah, storytelling and poetry is something that keeps culture alive. You know, a lot of like Shakespeare's poems, plays, things like that. That's what really, that just gets turned into more like films content more and more. That keeps history alive in a way.
Yeah.
And poetry is like also very abstract in a form of expression. And then, yeah, obviously we have the future, which represents to me like the digital age, where everything we do now is more of like done in like a digital sense. So there's like VR, AR, like 3D motion graphics, things like that. Yeah, the blockchain. And then that combined with NFTs, that's just like,
yeah. It's beautiful how cards went through 10. It's such a beautiful story how they each paint a picture of human eras of what humans were and how we evolved over time to ultimately be card number 10. So how we went from the Apple to, you know, the blockchain, AR, VR, and so forth, whatever is ahead of that road. So I absolutely love that story. Thank you again, because you really, really got me like going deep into Curio Cards after I watched that particular video. So I appreciate that. I want to know, so what is your personal favorite card?
Probably the Thinker. Or the sculpture.
Number 7.
Yeah, number 7.
Okay. Why is that?
It just stood out. I think because my last 2 years, like 1.5 years of my life, have been very, very surrounded with thinking. I've just been thinking a lot in the last 1.5 years. So, and also I really like the Thinker as a piece, because the guy's really, it sort of like portrays thinking in a new different way. Like maybe thinking for some people is just sitting there and like looking quite relaxed and stuff. But the way that the sculpture was done was, you know, the guy's like obviously very like athletic. It's a very like intensively energy consuming task. And then like his toes are like clenched because he's thinking really hard. Sometimes I feel like that, but I'm not as buff as the thing. But yeah, I like sculpture.
Okay, yes, sculpture is a nice piece. I think that was one of the first cards I got too. Sculpture was a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. I like sculpture. I would say my personal favorite is number 5. It's I personally don't even have a number 5, but I just like the way it just pops out the screen. It's a beautiful card to me, a very, very beautiful card. And let's talk about this Christies auction on October 1st. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think it's massive. I think for the people who don't really understand Curio Cards or don't understand NFTs or just that whole thing, and they only understand signals, then Christie's is like a huge signal for them. It's like a huge, like legitimacy signal, like, yep, this is all real. Considering like the type of art that Christie's and Sotheby's are known for selling, and like just the amount that they sell.
Yeah.
Even from that standpoint, like I feel like that's a big enough reason for people to start paying attention.
more. I think what this auction is personally is gonna push the whole space forward. And obviously Curio Cards are gonna get a big benefit from it, from being in there. But I think what it's gonna do, for one, it's gonna help NFT become a little bit more mainstream, because it's right now, I do believe it's a little small community of about 1% of the world, if not a little smaller than that, people who actually understand and own one of these things. Not much people do. But when things like Christie's happen, and Curio Cards and all these other NFTs go on auction and hit mainstream media, that's how guys like me and other people start to get into the community, because it's like it hits the news, it hits the timelines, it hits you see a friend posting on Instagram. So I think, for one, it's going to bring the space forward, which I'm really, really excited about. I'm also really, really excited about that. I think it's going to help all prehistoric NFTs, all the 2017 ones, all the 2018 ones who weren't really getting much love. I think there's gonna be a lot of light on them, and it's gonna make us appreciate those early projects a lot more. And what I mean by that is, these guys who develop these early projects like Curio Cards and CryptoPunks and all these early projects are geniuses. They're literally the first of their time to do something so new, brand new. There was basically almost no blueprint before them, and they took these ideas and they made them. They kind of got lost in time, and here we are 4 years later, and people are like kind of rushing into all these older projects that were kind of got forgot about. So I think I'm happy for those guys who are the innovators of the space getting the recognition they deserve. Are you into any of the older projects?
Yeah, I'm into crypto arte.
Yeah, you did say that.
That's considered.
Yeah. That's 2020. What year?
2018.
2018. Okay.
It's funny that we're saying like 2018 ancient, or like old. It's like not that long ago, but because a day in crypto time is like times 4.
Yeah.
The amount of time.
Yeah.
I feel like I've aged.
Why crypto arte?
When I read the comprehensive guide on what crypto arte represents, I was like, oh, this is significant. Because essentially they represent like individual blocks of like mining blocks, and each block gets a certain like signature. It shows the Ethereum timeline in a very simple yet complicated way. So it gives like a lot of detail about the sort of metadata that went on in the contracts. And then it's like a visualizer. And people can go back and they can like, talk about it. Miners can go back and spot their own signature. So like there's this thing where you can see how many times a miner has essentially mined a block. So like when people used to mine cryptocurrencies, they'd probably like participate one time and then they'd leave, and then like that would be like a rare thing on the paint. I just like all these little like things that you can understand about the Ethereum blockchain in like a very interesting way. And I was like, oh, that's very significant.
Crypto arte. Okay. I joined the Discord of that one. I'm still learning a little bit about it. It's a little confusing on surface. So
confusing.
Yeah. I have to dive a little bit.
It took so long to understand.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have been shocked at how fast everything has happened. I've definitely seen a lot of people say things like, okay, I knew it was going to happen, but not this fast. Or like, I knew something like this was coming, but like, and I've experienced it myself, like having estimations of when things would happen or play out. And then like it happens like tomorrow. And I'm like, what? I think like as technology grows, almost there's like some compounding speed effect. Like once we have the technology down and like that's it, like we build 10 times faster or like multiple times faster. I think that's just what we're seeing now.
I agree 100%. One thing I do want to say, for me, and what makes this so interesting, is that NFTs made investing fun. It added like, it reminds me of the time, I'm not sure if you remember the little AR Pokemon game back in I think that year was like 2018. At least it was really, really big in the US. There's like a Pokemon game where like people were stopping.
I played it.
People were stopping in the middle of the road to like trying to catch Pokemon, and everybody was outside walking randomly at 8 o'clock at night trying to catch Pokemon, and it made life fun again, you know, in the sense of everybody's communicating with each other, everybody's just, and I kind of get that same feel for NFTs right now. It's still very early, but I see a world where people are randomly, you know, trading cards, people are looking at each other's collections. It, for me, it made investing fun again, you know. But any final thoughts, words, blessings that you want to give the audience?
Yeah, maybe a piece of advice is to learn how to do research well. You hear a lot about how to, or you hear a lot about do your own research. But I think not many people are talking about how to do your own research. So there are really good resources out there that I can maybe link to you and you can share to your audience on how to do quality research and sort of spot helpful versus unhelpful ways to think about things and sort of develop a good sense, because a lot of the people that are very good at what they do when they're flipping NFTs or doing investing in NFTs is that they have a really good intuition for it. I feel like that could be taught. Like people can develop a good intuition.
100%. So what do you think is a basic for research?
A basic would be to follow people who are really, really in the eye of the storm. So I follow people like Zeneca _33, who does a lot of analysis, and he does newsletters and things like that. And you also have to look at the person's background to a certain extent. I know that in this space we don't really focus on people's background or like where they come from, which is good, but also it just gives you an extra sort of like certainty, like, okay, this person probably knows what they're doing because he was a professional poker player before this, and he knows his way around crypto because he's been in crypto before. So like you can understand to a certain extent like what sort of like things they bring to the table when it comes to their participation in the NFT space. So yeah, like I would follow key people, and I would participate a lot, and I would ask a lot of questions, and I would ask why a lot. And then take things with a grain of salt as well, not just take on board everything that somebody you think is better than you at is saying.
Yeah.
And make informed decisions.
Beautiful. I love that. And the cherry on top I would give is I really didn't, NFT didn't click until I got involved with the community, until I got into the actual Discords and started communicating with people in the community. So I hopped on the Twitter spaces and started communicating with people in the community. So the Discords for me was a game changer, because you could watch as much YouTube videos as possible. You could, you know, try to Google it, but until you're actually in that Discord, especially a good Discord, where you see the family, you see the community, the community, you see the conversation, that's when it begins to click that this is more than just a JPEG. You get what I'm saying? This is actually communities of people who are very passionate about what they're talking about, very passionate about what they're investing in. So that was a game changer for me, is get in a Discord, find a project that you're interested in, find a Discord, and just kind of just float around in there. And that at least is what helped me a ton. But CryptoLurker, it was absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for hopping on the episode. I would love to have you back in the near future. Maybe we'll talk about this again after the Christie auction in a month or so. So we'll see where the cards go. But I'm wishing you many blessings and good luck in your trading.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was great.
All right. Peace.